Hi there. This is Chris from Heartfelt Workforce. So today I wanted to share a little bit with you about how I discovered my purpose and a little bit of brain science too. So, I think our purpose changes in our life based upon where we are and what's happening. As a young mother, I was, well, my kids were young, let's put it that way. They were my purpose. I really, investing so much time and energy and love into them so that they could grow up to be fantastic humans. And yet, as time moved on, they were growing up. There was something inside of me. It's like my purpose was changing. I wasn't sure what it was. There were things going on inside of me. There's a lot of dysfunction happening around me. And I remember there were times where I would see something like a training course or a book, and I would be so excited going, yes, I want to do that. And I would be so excited. And then there would be a story in my head that would say, the voice in my head that would say, you can't do that. You don't have enough training. You don't have enough education. You don't have the money. You don't have the time, not enough, so many of those things. And they would just shrink back down into what I would call my little bubble because I was safe in my little bubble. That was my comfort zone, this little bubble. So what I realized is that every time I saw something out there, it was actually, and I learned this from one of my mentors recently, it was my acorn. That was that part of me inside of me that was my purpose, that actually had time to peek out of the bubble and identify like, yes. And then that was me stepping out of my comfort zone. That was me and my window of tolerance. I was fearful, like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And I shrunk back down into my comfort zone, which I did for a long time. And so I remember just in the space of, this is probably 20 years ago now, life smacking me upside the head, making changes. I was going through divorce at the time, and like change was happening around me. I wanted the change, and it was throwing me all over. And what also happened at that time, by being thrown out of my comfort zone, is all of a sudden that acorn, my purpose, peaked even more. And I was no longer fearful of stepping into that unknown. And that's where, like, the first step, because I truly believe we're guided. So this is a part of my story. I was guided to go back to school. That's where my program in spiritual psychology from the University of Santa Monica was like screaming at me, like, hello. And those around me were like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm following this divine guidance. And I did. And that's where Heartfelt Workforce was born. And so it just reminds me that we all have that acorn inside of us, that purpose, what we're really meant to be doing, whether it's something, a job that we get paid for, or, maybe it's a hobby, whatever it might be. But it's that part of us that we have to give it that time to reveal. And it doesn't have to be, shooken up, with life's crises. We can actually slow ourselves down. Even in the time of quiet meditation, your brain waves are slowing down. And there's actually gaps in your brain waves where those insights can reveal themselves. So, I know sometimes people get their insights, when they're in the shower or they're driving to work or whatever it might be. Everybody's different at how it shows up for you. But a lot of times it's about slowing down and really listening to that inner voice and giving it time to settle in, to see what it is that you truly desire. So that's what happened to me. I just want to share a little bit about how I got to that place where I am now. And this is my purpose. Heartfelt Workforce, the work I do with organizations to bring care, connection, trust, psychological safety, and teaching individuals these aspects and how they can change themselves. And sometimes one of the most powerful things that I love hearing back from my teams is learning how to listen. Truly listen to others. that allows them to hear what other people are saying and to slow down what's going on in their mind of trying to say something next or trying to compare, whatever it might be. And I just love that. I love hearing from those that have been in my courses or my coaching, or they're like, this one little thing made such a big difference in my life. So that's what I wanted to at least share. If you're interested in finding out more about that, let me know. I would love to share with you too. So take care. Have a great day. Bye for now.